Nick, let's get into the Jets a little bit and an evolving quarterback situation as it pertains to the front office and Joe Douglas and their quarterback, Sam Darnold. Douglas said to reporters Wednesday, as it pertains to Sam, we think Sam is a dynamic player in this league with unbelievable talent. He really has a chance to hit his outstanding potential moving forward. But if calls are made, I will answer them. Adam Schefter, of course, reporting that they have received calls from interested teams, and it would stand to reason in this market shift from we're not going to take calls on Sam Darnold to the phone lines are open, that the Jets are thinking about it. And when you're thinking about it, you've really already made your decision. And it seems that the time has run out for Sam Darnold with the Jets, as far as I'm concerned, in reading the situation.
Yeah, I think it's kind of unfortunate. I've always thought Darnold is a great quarterback who's just been really, really unlucky in his career so far, whether it be with injuries, the talent of his team, the coaching. And I think people forget that he's 23 years old, only 23 as a quarterback. He's got at least another 10 to 15 years of his career where he could still be productive. I think he's got tremendous potential still, but with the Jets, I just don't think that's the case anymore. It's a sad thing to see, I think, considering he was supposed to be drafted as, your guy as a Jets fan. But it is time to move on, I think. It's just proven that it has not worked. Nothing's really changed since he was drafted. The Jets have not been a great team since he came, and that's the bottom line. If it's a certain amount of time or seasons in the NFL's case of failure or lack of production means it's time to move on, and that's the case for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I'm out on Sam Darnold, and I thought it was interesting that you called him a great quarterback because I got to tell you, I'm inclined to disagree based upon what I've seen on film over the last couple of years, and he does some things well. I won't disagree with that, but and I've said this a few times, there's nothing that he does that is spectacular. When you look at some of the great quarterbacks in this league, and that be Lamar Jackson with the mobility like we've never seen before at the position, or Patrick Mahomes in the ability to read defenses and make off-schedule throws and do what he does in Kansas City, and Aaron Rodgers with the accuracy and the quick release, and Josh Allen with the arm strength and what he's done with his mobility at his size. To me, there's just not any of that for Sam Darnold, and that to me is the concerning thing. He's not necessarily disproven that he can't be a good quarterback in this league. What I think he has shown is that his ceiling is not great. And he's just not going to be great at the position. And I think you need great at the position to be competitive consistently. And I may get some blowback for saying this, but to me, he's a more gifted Alex Smith. That's the comparison that I make. And I know that that's perhaps going to be not right for a lot of people, and maybe no, Sam, and he's not been given the fairest shake, but he's got better arm strength than Alex Smith. Mobility is better, but he's someone who can come in and when everything is right around him can be successful to the level that Alex Smith was successful pre-injury in Kansas City, or even in San Francisco when they were able to make a Super Bowl. And yes, Colin Kaepernick took over at that time way back when. But I think it would have been reasonable. Alex Smith got them the year before to an NFC championship game. So it's not to say that Sam Darnold couldn't be successful. But I don't see it. I have to tell you, in some of the games that he's played, and perhaps you watch him with a closer eye in certain games than others, and that's what has really made the difference for me. But ever since the last 4 games of his rookie year where you see some promise, I got to tell you, and I know there's been injuries, mononucleosis, and coaching that hasn't been great, but, Deshaun Watson won 4 games with as bad a situation as they were in. And, Aaron Rodgers has not lost fewer than 6 games, has not won fewer than 6 games, rather, in his career. And to go 2-14 with a quarterback, I know their roster wasn't good. I know they had a lot of issues, but Denzel Mims, Brashad Perriman, not on the field all the time. Are they the worst weapons you've ever seen? I mean, I know that the offensive line wasn't good, but it's just you got to win more than 2 games if you're going to sell me on, oh, this is a guy we're going to move forward with. There's a lot of losing with the Jets. I'm not saying it's all Sam Darnold's fault, but he's been there too, and I think he shows you that this is a guy who needs a better situation. And with him taking himself out of the great conversation, I would tell you it's time to move on.
Absolutely. And, he's a quarterback is the leader of the team, regardless of how good they are, in my opinion. They're the commander of the offense. They go out and they got to get it done. Darnold obviously has not been great at that since he's come into the league. But the comparison I want to draw is if you look at his draft class and how many quarterbacks, frankly, good quarterbacks at this point that we've seen come out of that draft class, you could argue Darnold, out of the starters, Darnold might be the worst. Baker Mayfield has been playing well, led the Browns to the playoffs this year, of course. Josh Allen clearly has been playing MVP level football. Even Lamar Jackson drafted late, but no one saw that coming. But with Darnold, it seems like you could argue, oh, did the Jets make a mistake? And that's not the real point of this now. It's just really the fact that you've seen these guys who maybe you could argue, yeah, Baker and Allen in their first seasons were not spectacular quarterbacks, but they've shown the most growth. Same thing with Lamar, of course, but they've shown growth and progression. Sure, their teams have as well, whereas the Jets haven't. But why have the teams shown growth? Because the leaders shown growth. You could argue it all day, but I really think with Darnold, it's, of course, blame the Jets. The Jets have been one of the most atrocious franchises in all of sports in the past 4 or 5 years. But Darnold you can throw a lot of that blame on him because as a new face of the franchise, you're supposed to try and turn things around. And the progress of that is minimal to none, I think, with what you could say are highlights of Darnold's career. I'm not really sure. Maybe his first career game where his first throw was a pick, and then he went up and torched the Lions after that. But otherwise, I don't see much to boast there for Darnold. I think what you said about Alex Smith is such a great comparison, kind of, because Darnold has had flashes where he can show he can play quality football, but he's got to have right stuff around him. That's where I've always kind of felt bad for criticizing him, because I don't think he's really been given never really a great football team, but that doesn't mean that he can't play better than he has. You can only discredit the team so much when its leader is also not doing anything. The O-line, of course, terrible. He's had to scramble for his life on more than a few plays. But other than that, you got to try and figure something out. You put him in a different system, maybe he's got potential. Again, he's 23 years old. That's, I think, his biggest upside here as a trade piece. But besides that, really, there's not much, I guess, star power, superstar potential. Like you said, his ceiling is much lower, I think, than what anyone, especially the Jets, were hoping for.
And I'm not trying to say that he can't play. That's not the message. And I'm not saying that even he's not better than Alex Smith. I do think he's more talented. I think mobility-wise, he is a much better athlete. I think his arm is stronger. I mean, especially now, Alex Smith post-injury is not the guy I'm comparing him to. And Alex Smith was number 1 overall pick way back when out of Utah. So there is some merit to that. But it's just one of those things where you can't. I don't see him being a superstar. And Ryan Tannehill, even since he's left Adam Gase, and that's always the comparison. Oh, look, well, Ryan Tannehill's got a lot around him. And it's not, again, to say that Ryan Tannehill can't play, but he's not a superstar. And I think that that's what you need when you're drafting number 2 overall, and we'll get to that draft selection and decision in a moment. But you've got an opportunity to grab someone at number 2 overall that could be that superstar. I mean, if you keep doing it, eventually you're going to hit. And I know that's not probably what Jets fans want to hear. And it's probably something like, well, there's a risk involved. Yes, there is. But when you hit and when you get the reward of the Patrick Mahomes, of the Josh Allen, of the Aaron Rodgers, of those guys, of the Russell Wilsons, you are in such a great position to compete for a long time. And that's, to me, what the Jets need to be after. It's not just, in the short term, can we get a bunch of draft picks for the number 2 overall pick and try and put together a serviceable 10-6 team around Sam Darnold. We'll make the first round of the playoffs, and we'll hang a banner at MetLife. No, this is not a team that has been to the Super Bowl since Joe Namath. So figure it out. Put yourself in that position. That's what Robert Saleh's coming in here to do. He's not saying, all right, well, I hope we go 10-6 while I'm here. Todd Bowles did that. So it's not about, oh, we're going to put ourselves in a position to just make the playoffs. This is about setting yourself up with a new head coach for sustained success. And that, to me, is the biggest thing. Sam Darnold is not going to put them in a position to do that. And when you look at things logistically, fifth-year option pays him in excess of $20 million next year with a reduced salary cap. Then you're looking at some form of extension if he does play well or at a point where you feel like, okay, this is a guy we want to move forward with. Or you're in the same spot with a quarterback, without a quarterback, with Sam Darnold as the question mark, and you don't have the same capital. You're not drafting number 2 overall next year. I mean, the Jets are going to be better. I don't expect them to be drafting number 2. So to me, it's just with the way things fit and the timing of it and having the number 2 overall pick, it's just, to me, it's an unfortunate set of circumstances for Sam. It's not been fair to him. They have not done right by Sam Darnold at any point or by any stretch of the imagination. At the same time, the NFL is not about being fair to players. The Jets organization cannot sit up there and be like, oh, well, we need to be fair to Sam Darnold. No, the Jets need to do what is in the best interest of the Jets organization. That's moving on. That's not, oh, well, let's see if we can be fair to Sam Darnold. Well, we haven't put enough around him. And to me, I think Joe Douglas gets that. I feel like the Jets are headed in the right direction under his leadership. At the same time, they're going to have to find a quarterback. But I'm out on Sam Darnold, and that's just where I'm at.